Everyone knows that you never go in an alpha's territory. No matter what. You just can't. But as a young girl, in a world full of people who followed the rules, you wanted to know. You wanted to know why. Ever since the war between humans and alphas, there had been a divide. That's why there was a wall. The alphas, the omegas, and the betas were on one side, and the humans were on the other. Many didn't know about it, but I found out. I read the history books. I knew what happened. And I had to find an alpha. They were just so dreamy. And I wanted to know more. I'm not like other girls. I'm not all about the looks. I'm interested in the history. I need to know. I decided to venture out into the forest. It was very rambly. It was very rough. There was weeds and thorns everywhere. I thought that something terrible was going to happen to me. It was foggy, misty. I could barely see. I needed a flashlight, but I didn't want it to be too bright in case someone saw me and I got punished. I decided to go. I had my flashlight in hand and bag in the other. I had food, water, all the supplies you could think of. Blankets, safety equipment. I even had a knife. But you can't tell anyone that because it's illegal to carry them, especially if you go into another person's territory, which you're not supposed to anyway. So I decided to go. I was quite worried about what would happen to me. What if? No, I didn't want to think of that. So I just decided to continue going. The journey was treacherous. I felt sweat beads rolling down my forehead and I felt tired the entire time. I felt like I was going to fall over and faint. I had barely been 10 minutes in, but gosh, there was something about the forest that just made you tired, made you wear down. I decided to keep going, but then I heard something. I turned to the side and I heard some footsteps approaching. They were heavy and loud. I realised that it was a full moon as I looked up at the sky and dove into a bush, hoping that no one would hear or see me. Werewolves? Werewolves were at the top of the food chain. They were the worst. Because in the daytime, they could turn into humans and infiltrate the camps and the territory, and they could take humans back to kill them. They feasted off human flesh, human blood, like vampires who ruled the night. I held my breath, hand covering my mouth, and my flashlight was off. I was worried. What if they saw me? What if they heard me, better yet? Then it would be all my fault. Deep breaths. Deep breaths, YN, I said. They were gone. I tried to listen. I could hear nothing but the low sound of birds chirping, although not many dared to wander here, because they were also potential prey for the alphas. I breathed in and out, slowly, trying to catch my breath. My risen heartbeat wasn't slowing down just yet, but I was hoping it would soon. I was scared. worried, anxious. I wasn't sure if it would be safe to go up yet, so I sat there for a few more seconds, but then I decided to look behind me. I peeked my head out the bush and nothing was there, just an empty dark void. I let out a sigh of relief. I grabbed my flashlight and I tried to turn it on, but the torch wasn't working. I tried it again and again. I was getting frustrated now. Why wasn't it working? I tried to look, but I didn't want to make too much noise. Plus, I had to keep going. I assumed I must have broken it while I was diving for the bush. I mean, no wonder. It was pretty aggressive. But I didn't regret it, because otherwise I'd be dead meat by now. Maybe they'd even be feasting on my flesh. So I just brushed myself off and got up. I was still worried, so I decided to stay in the trees. I did not want anyone to see me. If they did, I didn't know what I would do. I mean, my father, he was a hunter. He enjoyed he liked going out and trying to kill the elves. My family's name had earned a reputation in that forest. The killers. We went against all nature when alphas were supposed to come and eat us, but he went and he killed them and he brought them back to the village for the people to eat when we were starving. I remember that man. He was heroic until one day he was killed out on a hunt. I still remember that day. He didn't come home until never. He never came home. We heard police knocking on our door. My mother opened it and I heard her scream as the police officer said something to her. She started crying, got on her knees begging them to say that they were wrong, but he couldn't. He was dead and there was nothing we could do about it. I cried my eyes out that night. I wish I had never known. It was a long time ago now, and now I've made it my life's mission to kill all alphas. I need to find that specific pack. There's different packs, many different ones. And I have a hint, I know which one it was, but I'm not sure yet, so I have to keep searching. I decided to keep going, my curious mind always ablaze. I sighed. I looked up at the moon. It was shining so bright tonight. Full. It looked hypnotizing, entrancing, beautiful. I was so hypnotized I barely heard the whispers, the footsteps, people coming behind me. People more like wolves. You could barely describe them as people. They're inhumane. They kill anything and everything that gets in their path. They couldn't be called human if they wanted them to. I was shocked as I felt a hand come over my mouth. I tried to struggle against it, but I felt weak in the knees. I was being lifted up and I could do nothing about it. I was screaming and crying for them to let me go, but I couldn't do anything. They held me in a chokehold from behind. I just tried to breathe, getting all the oxygen I could before my inevitable death. But it never came. I still struggled for breath, for air, as they were strangling me to death. And I tried to kick them off me, but they were way too strong, far too strong for me, a puny human. I breathed in what I assumed to be my last breath, though it was not. I was just mistaken. I really wish it had been, though. I breathed it in before I blacked out. The last thing I remember was feeling dizzy, like I had just been hit in the head and waved by a large dosage of drugs, and then I fell asleep. into the void for what seemed like ever until I eventually woke up.